I felt that there was a void in the local market here as local content dried up and there was less and less in the way of local program being produced. Well, I was working in regional television at the time and have done all my life really, and it was cost driven, more and more pressures, cost pressures, and then centralisation in our case to Canberra. In the case of WIN-TV, I worked there for a while as well, to Wollongong. So with those cost pressures came the need to cut back, and gradually one thing after another was centralised back to a central point interstate. Well, it's interesting. I had Senator Bridget McKenzie in here last week, and I made the comment then that I'm over politicians and journalists commenting that with new media ownership laws, there's a real need to protect localism and making sure that it continues. And I said to Senator Bridget McKenzie, I don't know where they're coming from because local content's pretty much dried up already out here. I take my hat off to WIN-TV. As I said, I have worked there, but at least they're having a crack and presenting, I think, 19 regional news bulletins across Australia, so at least they're doing something. But everything else has pretty much dried up. Look, I can go back to our heyday in regional TV, Lucy. We were doing football grand finals, Bendigo Cup, 2.5 hour live coverage. You name it, every key event locally was being covered in depth. And on top of that, you had a real half-hour local news every night with 4 or 5 or 6 journalists, flat out with camera operators all day, every day. It was just a wonderful, vibrant, local, regional community in TV terms. A WIN now, carrying the 10 signal, I hope that they can continue with the local news because I think it's so important for local communities. Bendigo IPTv was what we saw as a local option to provide 100% local content, so we don't take content from anywhere else. We produce everything ourselves. We've done the Bendigo Cup, we've done the local football grand finals with full commentary, we've done a variety program with local musicians. So we really try and fill the gap, I guess, and be what TV was locally 10, 20 years ago. Well, it's interesting, we've had Malcolm Turnbull in here as Shadow Communications Minister at one stage. We had Stephen Conroy in when he was Minister. And I had to laugh when Malcolm Turnbull was quoted. I heard him talking to Frank Kelly on the ABC radio not long after and saying in terms of Channel 31 having to move to an IPTV platform, the comment Turnbull made at the time was, look what a wonderful things are happening in Bendigo. It's Bendigo IPTv as a great example of what Channel 31 could achieve. If he saw our bank balance, and we'd made it clear when he was here how difficult it is, each year we review our operation and decide whether it's worth continuing on the journey. I think if I look back on so many levels, in a community like ours, in a regional community, there's a real sense of connection. Yesterday and again this morning, we've had 2 people in here who have nominated for council elections in October. No one knows who they are, prior to putting the hand up. They put the hand up, they get a 10 or 15 minute interview with us, and they have a real opportunity for the ratepayers to get to know who they are. I think that's critical when they're the people guiding our city as councillors for the next 2, 3, 4 years, however many terms they get in. I think that's critical, but I think equally important is the ability for businesses to advertise and promote their products in their community, and that's becoming more and more difficult. The only thing we can do in that area is draw on my experience of 35, 40 years in regional TV, and it's not always easy, but if you look at councillors, and we've had a couple of contentious issues locally, particularly around the mosque in the past 12 months, then our view has been that we're reflecting the views of elected officials. So the community has elected people to represent them in council as councillors, and every councillor knows, including the mayor, they all have every opportunity to present. They ring and say, look, we'd like to put this or that point of view, or we have an update from the mayor or the CEO. Funny, I look back when I started in TV and I walked in the hill at what was then BCV8, one of the first blokes who walked around the corner and said welcome, I was a dispatch boy, that was my first gig, was Sandy Roberts. Now, Sandy went on to do what he's done. Another guy that comes to mind, I remember meeting him his first day on the job as a young rookie journo, no experience, Chris Smith, the shock jock out of Sydney now. I mean, I could just go on and on with the numbers of people who have used regional as a training ground, and I see young people in Bendigo now, the younger generation, whether it's IT or creative, they have lost that pathway that used to be there for them to find a career in an incredible way to a path through media of all sorts, whether it be press, radio or TV. When we started out, we had to import a little box about that big, about $100 each from California, so that people could watch what we were doing on their big screen TV. The technology has changed so quickly in the last 6-7 years. Well, you can see now with smart TVs, what we were doing then is ridiculous. So things have changed so quickly. I'm flat out keeping up with what's happening, and I don't pretend to be an expert at all. But yes, we've had inquiries from other communities saying, how did you do it? How effective is it? How costly is it? So there's been a level of interest, yes.